Alright everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about these plants that we did a video on a couple of months ago. And that video touched upon how to make cuttings. In other words, how to propagate plants. Now, one of the things that is important to know about propagating plants is that sometimes with certain plants you do need to use the rooting hormone. In this particular case, I only used the rooting hormone on 2 of these plants. This plant here is the one I did without any hormone. And this is Abutilon. This is a very beautiful plant, and I'll post a picture so that you can see what the plant actually looks like. And there's also the video that I did that actually shows you how I created this little plant. Now, if you look here, you can see the roots already coming out the bottom of the little red cup. So what I'll do today is cut this open here and show you how well rooted it is in here, and then I'm going to go ahead and then just plant it in this little 1-gallon pot. Now, before we get into this one, I want to show you guys this here, which is a rose. This is an heirloom variety of rose. It's been around my family now for probably a good 10, maybe 15 years, and almost everybody in my family has one of these roses. Now, this one is about 2 months old. This one was started in, I believe, February, and it was not that warm, so you know the weather was cool, and we had a couple of cold nights, and this stayed outside. But roses can handle that; it's not a big deal. So I used a very long tube for it, and at first, you know, the reasoning behind it was that I would get really nice deep roots, and you could see the roots go way down there, which is kind of nice. Okay. But in the end, this is going to be grown in a container, so it doesn't really matter that much. And I could have just as well rooted it in this cup, okay? Even though this is a fairly deep cup. And you probably should use something that's deep. You don't want to use something that's too shallow, because you do want a nice set of roots to develop. So this guy here, as you can see, I had to cut the tube in order to get him out. But you can see it's pretty pretty well rooted. But I have to be careful. I have to be careful taking this guy out of here, because he's just going to fall apart. You see all those roots there? So I will have to cut this all the way down to the bottom in order to take this out. So let's go ahead and let's cut it down a little bit further without damaging these roots. All right, so now I've broken it apart completely, and you can better see what's going on. Let me move this out of the way. Very carefully, doing minimal damage, we've taken this guy out, and he's ready to be planted. And this is, like I said, an heirloom. It's been around for a very, very long time. It's an antique rose. It's beautiful, compact rose. It does very well in the heat of Florida, and it gets these beautiful little pink flowers, very, very tiny little pink flowers. And there's a little bud growing right there. Roses are very, very easy to propagate for the most part, and they can even be grafted. Now, I don't know the name of this rose, but if I get a chance, I'll take a picture, and I may post a picture if I have one on the property that's flowering. I think I do. All right, so that's going to be planted in here. All right, so the next plant that we're going to look at is going to be the mulberry. And again, because I used this deep tube, I had to cut this, okay? And this is about 2 months, and this one I did use a little bit of the hormone. So let's see how we look here. Looking pretty good. Nice growth. And let me give you guys a little hint. If you do a cutting and you see a couple of leaves within a month, don't think it's rooted, because it probably won't be. Just because you have leaves does not mean that it's rooted. So be on the safe side. Give it about another month, a minimum of 2 months, before you start getting in there and disturbing it. That's got really nice healthy roots, don't you think? And the nice thing about having made a cutting is this came from a tree. I believe this was the Pakistani mulberry, which is a nice long mulberry. Very delicious mulberry. And this particular mulberry, hopefully it is the Pakistani. I'm almost positive that it is. Because it had already been producing this plant will produce Pakistani mulberries in no time. So probably in about 6 months, this plant will already be putting out some fruit, which is real nice. Okay, so I'm going to just put him in here in the pot. I'm not going to worry too much about spreading the roots out or anything. And we're just going to go ahead and get a little bit more soil when I come back. And then it also has already a little bit of organic fertilizer. Then I'll put this guy in a bright location, and I'll let him take off. And in 6 months, this guy's going to be, well, in 6 months, this guy will be in a 3-gallon pot most likely. But I would say in about a month and a half to 2 months, we're going to be pretty surprised at how nicely this little Pakistani mulberry has developed. Let's take this guy back out. Let's put this tube away, and let's just slice this. Slice it down. It's a good idea to do it on both sides. This way you can split it, because you don't want to do a lot of damage. Again, this guy is an Abutilon. It's a beautiful plant. It loves to be growing in the shade, and got a nice healthy root system as well. Alright, so some other plants you can grow from cuttings would be things like hibiscus plants, pretty easy to do. You can do many of the different jasmines, like you can do orange jasmines, you can do the night blooming jasmines. Those are pretty much ornamental plants, but when it comes to edibles, you could do things like figs as well. Figs are also fairly easy. They're a little harder to do when it's summertime. They do better when they're just slightly coming out of dormancy and they don't have a lot of the latex flowing. They seem to do better. Alright, so there you go. You've got yourself a nice little rose that anybody can do this. You can do this yourself anytime. It's pretty easy. Remember to refer to the previous video that tells you how we create the cuttings, okay? This guy would probably be the easiest of all, the Abutilon, and it's a beautiful plant that you can grow and gives you these beautiful bell lantern-shaped flowers. And when it comes to edible plants, there's nothing tastier than a mulberry. And this is called a Pakistani mulberry. They're real long and they are super delicious. And like I said, these are exact clones of the mother plants. So if you're going to make a cutting of something, make a cutting of something worthwhile. Make a cutting of something that you know is really amazing. And share it, you know. Let other people have some of the plants. And, you know, this is a great skill. The ability of knowing how to create your own plants is a terrific skill set. And everybody should know how to do that. If you've got a little piece of land, or if you've got a balcony in a backyard, whatever, and you enjoy growing plants, knowing how to propagate plants is extremely worthwhile. Anyway, thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys swinging by my channel. If you liked the video, give us a thumbs up, and we've got a lot more in store for you. So we'll be making lots of videos in the coming months and in the coming weeks too.